Cool. So Ryan, because of the whole COVID-19 shelter in place, kind of all the, chaos that's happening right now in the world, a lot of people have lost their jobs. They've been laid off. What advice or what are some thoughts that you can give someone who has lost their job and they're feeling upset, discouraged? They feel like, man, I've really put a lot of time and energy into the career that I had, the job that I have, and then now I've been let go. And I guess, what are some thoughts to the person that is in that situation?
Yeah, I know. I appreciate you having me on here. And it is the time is very delicate, sensitive. Personally, I left a job as a resident. I'm a professional counselor, but I'm trying to finish hours. Where I left the job based on safety issues and probably won't go back. And yet, I lost some salary, I lost income, and I had to make a decision to move forward. So the first thing I would recommend with people that are feeling this way is that you have a choice how you feel. Now, a lot of people don't like that. They're like, made me feel pity and victimized. And I get that. There's a lot of different, feelings and levels of, you can call it grief, or you can just call it just emotions that you're going to go through when this happens. People that have been in jobs for a long period of time, and then the organization cuts ties, or you feel like you're in this great job that you love and all of a sudden you don't have it anymore. There's a couple ways to look at this. The first way that I want to talk about is you coaching yourself, and what that entails is you stepping into your position and starting to investigate you. And what I mean by that is you start asking you some open-ended questions about your situation. Is it really as bad as it seems? What can I do to actually manufacture success out of this? How can I look at this without sad eyes all the time? Not to say that you're not going to have sad eyes. I mean, people have sad eyes. I've had sad eyes off and on for the last month with my situation. And owning a business and then having a job where I'm not there anymore, where there was income coming in, has required me to rethink the way I look at myself and to look at how I can move forward in a successful way with the skills I have. And so every one of you has skills. You wouldn't have been in a job for 20 plus years if you did. And so I think that's the first thing you need to take stock in your skill set. If you were an accountant, if you were a manager, if you were you could have been a stock investor. I don't know what you were doing. It really doesn't matter what you were doing. You could have been a priest. You could be a minister. You could be a sales rep. Your skill set is your unique blend of who you are, your herbs and spices, your recipe. So the first thing I would do is I would write that down and look at all the advantageous things you have about that. The other thing I would do is I would look at the emotional side and I would say, what is real and what is not about this? How much am I taking this to a complete extreme, and how much am I not? And then once you start doing that, then you can start to actually represent yourself in a more sound way, even before you make changes. And so you go, well, that kind of sounds complicated. I don't want to do all that. I just want to wallow, or I want to feel bad, and yeah, that's your emotional program telling you, hey, you know what, woe is me. Everybody should look at me. Look at me. I'm sad. Look at me. I'm hurting. Well, you're not the only one. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are hurting, not only over job loss, but they're hurting over deaths of people that have died, and they're hurting over uncertainty for their future. Some people have both going on with job loss and death. And so it could always be worse for people. And I think it's really important to take stock in that. So you need to take stock in your emotions. You also need to take stock in your thoughts. How you think is how you go. Let me say that again. How we think is how we go. If I think bad, I'm bad. If I think I'm going to die today, then I'm going to have deathful thoughts. If I think I'm going to be amazingly great, like I am on the Philippians 4:8-9 later today, I'm just being funny, then I'm gonna do well. And we can set ourselves up for either high success levels of emotion and thought, or we can set ourselves up for status quo and detriment. So that would be my first thing that I would do if I was thinking about coaching myself. And the next thing I would do is I would start reading books, of course the Bible, but I would start reading books that are significant to success. I would read books to talk about when recessions hit or when pandemics hit, how men and women all over the world made lots of money with the skill set they had in situations where it was not really conducive to what they wanted. People like Thomas Edison, who had no formal education, who probably, I think, tried, 13,000 inventions before he got the light bulb right. A guy like Henry Ford, who grew up on a farm and then moved to Detroit and turned a boyhood dream of engineering into cars that made millions. A young man named Napoleon Hill, who's in the book Think and Grow Rich, which is based on the stories of Andrew Carnegie, who was a steel mill worker who became a billionaire in the early 1900s, who was a journalist who interviewed Carnegie and became a billionaire himself. So it's not about money. That's all I'm saying. It could be about Jesus. It can be about Gandhi. It can be about Martin Luther King. These guys were all rich too. They just didn't have materialism riches. Mother Teresa was very rich. Mother Teresa could go like that, and all of a sudden she had every beck and call at her. She was like, it was like rapid rewards for her. You know, I mean, if she needed money, people just gave it to her, and she served the poor. That's amazing. So you have to serve yourself in a realistic capacity. You got to look within yourself and not panic. And because panic is another word for you're finished, you're done, it's over. And I think about people like the guy who landed the plane in the Hudson River. In Sully was the movie, true story. Tom Hanks was the pilot, and Sully's a perfect example in the moment of someone who could have just caved in. He could have just sold it all away, and he did exactly what he needed to do to save the people. And so you go, well, that's not me. Well, no, you have your own Sully. You have your own situation. And as a matter of fact, you're not flying a plane over New York City where you could kill people and run into a building. You actually have the freedom to be foundationally stable on the ground right now. And so if you're not homeless, if you're not about to die, if somebody's not trying to hang you in the closet, if you are, not suicidal, and if you are, get help. I'm not telling you I'm not playing a game here. But if you're not at that point, collectively look at yourself where you are and start back to where you want to be. Because we all have the ability, and it's right in front of us, to take what we've been given and make it great. And I'm not innocent. I'm going through a lot of changes right now myself, where I am reinventing myself. I am writing a book based on men and the idea of shifting men's minds from the emotional dysfunction. We have a male problem in our country and our world, and we need to help men be men. And so I'm doing that. I'm creating a new brand in the Real Stuff, Real Change industry with coaching programs and consulting and taking my talents somewhere else. We are the only ones that can envision that being the case. And so I hope that helps. If you do need help further than that, if you're at a point where you're just despaired and distraught, get help. Talk to someone who can coach you or help you. Not just talk about your stuff, do something with it. Because self-talk is only a portion of therapeutic development. Action and results are the other two. So I hope that helped, Jared. I hope that was clear enough.